This is Ben with ITNH. In this video, I'm going to be going over all the basic features of Rasterlink 7. This will be a longer video, so keep an eye out for the timestamps at the bottom of the video for where things are, or just follow along through the pace as we go down the different windows on the right side of the screen. First off, we'll go to the Properties window. This should be the default window you're viewing when you open Rasterlink 7. This window will display your current job list, the information about them, of course, from the arrangement, layer, thumbnail, etc. And then a gathering of information that is currently available about your job, including the profile, file type, resolution, everything you need to know. On the left side of your screen, you should see information about your printer. I'm currently not connected to one, but when you're connected to your Mimaki, you'll see the ink levels projected here and some information about the machine. Below that is your job queue. This area will show the current status of rendering and printing when you send a job to your printer. One tool available inside the Properties window is the ability to change the job attribute. Right now you can see we're defaulted to a full color. This will also allow you to do changes to monocolor. A monocolor replacement is available on files that are made up of CMYK color spaces, both raster and vector. Another option here beyond the monocolor conversions is the ability to alter your clear. Right now you can see the job attribute is listed as special color to go with the clear plate that's currently available. And if we go into setup, UV mode, we'll get the options for different forms of curing the clear ink. This is available on most Mimaki UV based machines. Next, we'll move on to our arrangement window. The arrangement tool is for linking multiple jobs together to be printed at the same time with the same layout. For example, we could have two different color jobs arranged together. Now they are linked in the Arrangement tab, and they'll be printed at the same time despite being two different color jobs. This can also be used when you're using things like Jig Print to link multiple jobs together in a layout to have, for example, 5 of one and 3 of another to fill up your fixture. The next window we will look at is the Quality window. This is where you select things such as your profile, resolutions, pass counts, shifts in color, and color matching options. There's a lot going on here. So we're going to touch on the general basics of it, and from there you can expand your knowledge down the line. First off, looking at the Quality window here, we have a selection bar to find your profile. These bunch of drop-down menus are essentially a search tool, allowing you to look for different profiles based on either media or resolution. You can also go down here and select a specified device profile directly and access the profile you want by name. After you've selected the profile that you want, either by resolution, media, or directly, you can go down and look at the default pass count, overprint, and other values here. I normally recommend, for most profiles, stick with the default pass count. You'll get the best results at this point. A few other notes that you can see down here are things such as halftone, print direction, and fast print. These are options that normally you won't really be too involved with, and it'll be very dependent on what machine you're using. Always remember that Mimaki's Rasterlink is created to run every Mimaki machine, from the smallest flatbed machine to the largest roll-fed. So there's some options that are a bit redundant or just unavailable depending on what printer you're using. Though there is some options here for some distance corrections, these are things that we'd normally recommend doing elsewhere or on the machine. I'll get into them later on in a different window. A few more things to touch on in the Quality window though. On the right side you'll see the color matching. This is how your RIP and printer are interpreting the incoming files based on their profiles in the graphics software. Normally, Mimaki Expanded Color or Gray ballots will be selected. These are normally going to do just the job you need them to do. Getting into altering and changing these results in some more advanced options for people very in depth with color theory and different kinds of color choice. And speaking of color theory, the other thing available here is the Color Adjust tab. This is where you can do adjustments to your color in Rasterlink. Simply type into the top box, click the plus button to add it, and now you unlock these options. Now, mind you, you're able to swap your density of ink colors here, whole, individual, on the curve, but there will be no visual preview until this is actually printed. Some people like to work this way, some don't. I recommend a lot of testing though if you want to get into using this. Moving on, let's touch on one of the simpler windows, the cropping window. This is a simple tool letting you crop your file. You can either click and drag or enter in measurements. Obviously, this is a simple tool to use with a low-grade preview of the image you're trying to alter. We tend to recommend that you do this in your graphics software before getting here, but if you ever need this in a pinch, it's available. Moving on from the crop tool, we'll be looking at the general print window. The general print window is essentially your generic layout tool. This is where you can see the layout of your image in relation to the printer. In this case, we're currently using what would be an example of a 7151 flatbed UV printer. So the red line here is the print bed, and here is our file. The blue dashed line being the artboard, or hard edge of the file itself. In here, we can click and drag to move our file around, or we can enter numerical values to change things around via the scan or positions. Right now you can see I have this blown up a little bit to almost 300%, just so you can see it a bit better. Now, if we are altering the position, it will always be based on the bottom right. Your origin position is the bottom right of your bed, and it's in relation to the bottom right of your file. Now, over in the editing options, we have a few things. First, scale, as I previously mentioned, to increase and decrease the size of your file. Once again, I normally recommend doing this in your graphics software before you get here, but it can help when you need it the last second. Maybe to upshift something by 1 or 2% to make sure you get that full bleed, or maybe you're just off on your measurement by a slight bit. Next, we have some simple tools such as rotation. A very handy tool in the mirroring function, good for doing second surface prints. We have an option for diskew, which I highly do not recommend using. As you can see, as you do this, it starts to slant your object on an angle. Not the easiest thing to calibrate. Position, like I mentioned, is based on the bottom right corner. Copies allows you to make multiple copies of your job. You'll see that right now this is generating a preview, but only with a green box. It won't actually give you a visual representation of more than one of your file. Once you have copies, you can change the layout. In this case, with spacing, it's based on how far is appearing between both boxes. So let's make that 1/4 of an inch. Now you can see the spaces between our file. A note about copies. Once you have this enabled, you lose the ability to do some other things in Rasterlink. Note that some of our windows are grayed out over here. Now, I'm going to put that back to 1 for moving on. A few more options available in here are the ability to alter the print area, which is just restricting yourself on the actual size of your bed. From there, there's also registration marks. With our current example of the 7151, this isn't too useful, but with machines like the UCJV line, this can be incredibly helpful, generating crop marks inside Rasterlink for your print and cut features. Though there are a few other features available inside the image edit, a lot of them aren't really needed most of the time. so you probably won't end up using them unless you're directly asked to by our technicians. Moving on from the general print window, we're going to go into a more advanced option for layouts and production, the Jig Print window. This allows you to create custom layouts that are reusable and that will position your files into them. Once in here, you can enable Jig Print by clicking this button here. Select the jig you want, and then lay out your files. As you can see, I populate the file and it goes into the pocket we're working with. At the moment, it's currently registering to the bottom right, much like it would normally in the general print window. But Jig Print is one of the only places where you have the option to move away from that bottom right restriction. Moving from the jig layout to the jig definition, we can see how things are laid out. You have the size of the overall fixture, being the actual physical size of what they'd assume is a physical jig. The starting position of that fixture. The sizes of the pockets. You can see as I alter them here. The counts for width and height. The interval pitch, in other words, the spacing between them, as right now they are 4" by 5" squares. Or rectangles, sorry. That means they're going to be 5 by 6" to have a 1" gap between them. And the first position being its position from the bottom right. Now, the interesting thing here, though, is this layout tool. If we select the middle instead of the bottom right, and go back to look at our preview, you'll see our logo is now registered in the center of the pocket with the center of the file. And just in case your physical fixture is off by a little bit, there's also the ability to manipulate them individually. Right here, I've selected material 8. You can see it's now selected in this drop-down menu, and I can move this box individually, just in case something was a little bit off in your machining process. Other lucky features here are your ability to export and import the layouts, but more importantly, creating jig outlines. This can be very handy for a lot of people doing quick layouts, giving you the ability to export this as a job or a PDF and print it out onto your bed and have a registration of where you can put down your products. Now, mind you, just like when you turn copies on a job, this is enabling copies. So, it's currently disabled some other options in Rasterlink. Order of operations is important, and it's usually good to get everything set up before populating things into a jig or laying out multiple copies. So for now, we'll turn this back off. The next tool in the window we are going to be looking at is the Variable Edit window. I'm going to gloss over this one because it's actually rather advanced, and you'll be able to find a link down below to either a video that I've made or one made by Mimaki. This way it'll give you a better in-depth look at this feature. But overall, this is used paired with a CMYK vector file to create variable data. Using things like an Excel spreadsheet being imported into Rasterlink, you can populate a section that you lay out in Rasterlink, not your graphic software, to be changed based on the number of prints. This could be a naming parameter, a number, any other kind of variable information. Now to take a look at a simple but incredibly important window, the execution window. This is for sending your job to the printer. Now, our options are fairly simple. We'll have execution order. This could be print in the case of these flatbed machines, or it might be print and cut if you have a print and cut machine. From there we have options for how we're going to print: immediate, rip and print, rip only, and print only. If we were to rip and print a job, it is going to render the data, ripping it, and then send it to the printer, printing it. If we do rip only, it's going to simply render the data and not send it to the machine. But once we have that data, we could do a print only, skipping that step and possibly saving you some time depending on the size of your file. And of course, there's immediate print. This is mainly helpful for large printers, because this is essentially chunk data. It will render a few percent of your print and then send it to the printer. Not too helpful on a small flatbed, but it might be helpful if you're running 100 meters of textile on a 10-foot wide machine. Below that, we have the execution times. This is how many times this job will be sent to the printer. And then for some reason, some options to delete the data after it is sent through. Not the most commonly used thing, but hey, you might have a need for it. Below that is Start. Click this and it's going to send the job through. Moving on, we have the Special Plate window. This is for generation of special colors. In the world of Mimaki printers, that means clear, inkjet primer, and most importantly, white. To do this, we generate full separate plates. You can probably see some in my job list here. Clear here, a white here, etc. So, we start off with our option of which special color we want to use. In this case, I have access to all three. We'll start with white. I'll leave both channels at 100% for a good opacity. From there, you have the most important option being the created area, whole image, and valid pixel. What this means is whole image will generate white for the whole entire artboard of the print. Which, if you remember, going back to our general print window, you can see the layout of your file with a dashed blue line representing your artboard. This will just be a flood coat. Valid pixel, on the other hand, will generate white to match wherever it sees CMYK color data. This means anywhere that is not pure white, because pure white in a CMYK color space is 4 zeros. Now, valid pixel, of course, will be the most common option you use, but keep in mind it will pick up any value that is not pure white. This includes bad edges on something like a web-based JPEG that might not be clean, or maybe a high-end photo that has a bit of white clipping in it. Please feel free to see our other videos about how to use white to check out some pointers on getting around those kind of setbacks. From here, we're free to create a white plate. You can see my file is generated another white. But you'll notice that they're not currently stuck together. This means they are completely separate print jobs. We could also, when making our special color plate, select the execution method and click Composite automatically. This means it will create the job linked together with your color job. In this case, if we do bottom, it will print the white first with the color on top. Good for printing on solid and opaque objects. Or you could put on the top for doing second surface style prints where you look through, say, a piece of glass or acrylic, see the color, and then the white is behind it. But for now, I'll click bottom, click create, and now you can see that these jobs are hard linked. By having them composited, this also has the option to be able to print a CMYK file and the special plate at the same time. This is primarily done when using color and white, more than when primer and clear. But we'll get to the compositing in just a second. Now to look at the composition window. Composition is the ability to link two jobs together, mainly jobs that are built on one another, essentially using special colors with your color. This window allows us to do this with more advanced ways or redo what we've already done. Instead of the automatic generation that you saw with the special plate creation, this allows us to join the plates together. This could just be clicking two files on your job, using something like Control or Shift click will get us this composite option, and we'd click composite to link them together. But in this case, let's go for one more layer here. That way we have a white, a color, and a clear. You can see we have all three over here now. Down here we have a priority policy of speed over quality. Note that this does not affect your actual print quality. It's just a term used for how it's compositing them together. What I mean by that is if we click composite, okay, it'll warn you about settings. You can now see that these are composited, and we have an output order of 1, 1, and 2. This means the first bed pass is going to produce color and white. The second bed pass is going to do the clear. But if we were to take this job and recomposite it with quality, it results in an output order of 1, 2, 3. Now you'll have 3 bed passes instead of 2. This seems like it would not really be a good point, but to ever use quality over speed. But one of the options for quality is the ability to have individual choices happening. Different resolutions, different pass counts, and different kinds of settings going on between the jobs despite them being linked together. Once you have a job composited, you'll have to stop by the Layers window. This allows you to alter some of the properties of the relationship between the layers. Now obviously this got rid of our job list, so I'm going to hop back to the other one just as a reference, so you can see we currently have white, color, and clear linked together, currently with an output order of 1, 2, and 3. Now, when we go to the Layers window, it's going to show us the ability to adjust things. Right now, by default, I have something selected, but this is one of my preferences. I have the size turned on. This is the ability to thin or choke your color in from the other color, in this case, the white. Right now, I have it by 2 by 3 pixels, just bringing it in slightly from the edges so you don't have any white ink peeking out. On the left side of the screen, you can also see we have the white selected. Note that we have 1 out of 3 because of the composite 1, 2, and 3 print order. If we go to 2, we'll see our color, and if we go to 3, we'll see our clear. The clear also has options similar to the white for thinning. There's also the ability to do position correction. This is to help with alignments between the special colors and the color. This can be handy for a quick fix. Say your white isn't quite lined up left and right of your product. You could adjust it on the scan. If you want to move your color to the left, you would do it on a positive scan. If you wanted to move your color to the right, it would be negative. Same with your feed. Up, down. These are temporary fixes though. If you find yourself with colors not lining up between the special colors and the CMYK, make sure to get in touch with us so we can help you out with actually realigning your machine properly. But this can help you out if you just need to get those jobs done that day. For this next window, I wanted to show you that I've selected a different file. This file has an embedded spot color in it, and it's also a CMYK based file in a vector environment. That is because we're looking at the color replacement window. The color replacement window allows us to swap values. From selecting CMYK colors and the ability to change them out for whatever you see fit, or using embedded spot colors. In this case, we're pulling from a Pantone library embedded in Rasterlink 7. By having a properly named Pantone spot color in your graphics software, in this case Pantone 101C, we're able to have it import into Rasterlink and automatically be called out with an approximate lab value provided by this library for a color value. The libraries can be seen up here under Tools, Color Collection, and then you can enable them right here for use. In this case, we were pulling from the Pantone coded. You can see that there is quite a few colors here. Now, in the case of Pantones, we will never guarantee that it'll be perfect, because in no way will a 4-color process printer ever be perfect when it comes to Pantones right off the bat. But this will get you in a really good color range based on things that Mimaki have done. It's a great starting point, or it's a great way to do a quick turnaround for your customer. Our next window works a bit differently than the others. This would be the favorites window, which will actually create a new pop-up for us to work out of. Now, what a favorite is a saved set of conditions that you can call on the next time you bring in a file, allowing you to save out things like resolution, location, pass count, and even if you want to generate a special plate. Note that we have access to properties, quality, general print, jig print, execution, special plate, and layer. By going through these, we can go through and access the different settings we've applied so far. And then, once we've set them up, we can click the Update Favorite button. This will extract the data from the quality window and apply it to the favorite. That way, the next time we go File Open and bring in a new job, we'll be able to select the favorite and have those things automatically applied to the new job. Our last few windows are fairly straightforward and simple. First off, we have the duplicate window. Duplicate allows us to duplicate a job and include the RIP data if need be. This will simply create another copy of this job. Another simple but very useful tool is the backup window. This allows us to make a backup of the job. Now, this backup will include everything about the job. What profiles you use, what kind of selections you made, even the special plate selections and RIP data. Now, when you do this, it will generate a specialty file type called an RLJ7. By saving that out, you can use the Restore button to restore that job, bringing it back in its entirety. As long as you have installed all the same profiles and settings that you'd have, this could even work on another computer. Now for the last and simplest window, the delete window. Instead of just right-clicking on your job, you can simply go here and click either delete completely or delete the RIP data. Now that we've covered all the general windows, let's look at a couple helpful things. First off, up under Environments, we have our print management. This is how you add a printer to Rasterlink. Since Rasterlink can support up to 4 printers, this could be useful if you have more than one. Also, we can go under Tools to find a selection of color charts. These are tools that allow you to help find out a color range by looking at assorted colors and their values. In this case, your center color is based on this swatch, and then all the colors around it are based on the percentage shift of your options here, allowing you to color match visually with a lot of patterns that are very precisely tuned in. For more information on using color charts, please see our guide via our website or look for another video in the near future. And lastly, we have File Open and File Restore. Hopefully these have already been on your radar, but just to make sure that you knew they were there, File Open is for bringing in a new job, such as a graphics file like a JPEG or a PDF, and File Restore is for bringing in those RLJ7 files. That just about covers all the basics of Rasterlink 7. If you have any more questions, feel free to check out some of our other videos or check out our website to possibly reach out to us for more help. As I said, this was only the basics. More videos and PDF-based guides are available if you look on our website. And from there, I wish you the best of luck using Rasterlink, and hopefully you're getting some good prints.